Good evening. I'd like to ask you a favor, everyone. I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment. And imagine you are in your living room, you're sitting on the sofa, watching TV with your family. A bomb has just exploded. The house next door is in crumbles. Your neighbors are gone in an instant. Keep on imagining. You rush to gather your family members and you start packing the basic essentials. Your kids are in tears. You have no time to console them. You tell them to rush and move and leave everything behind. They leave their toys, they leave their friends, they leave their world. Your sole concern is their safety and well-being. Now envision embarking on a journey fraught with fear and uncertainty. The trauma you carry on builds up and continues more and more as you land in a country where people speak in a language totally incomprehensible. Then you're placed in a camp, crammed among thousands of other people, mostly strangers. With the feeling you have now, open your eyes for those who manage still to have their eyes closed. And I'm sure you feel a bit of sense of relief that this is not the real life. But unfortunately, this is a very familiar reality for over 100 million people escaping war, persecution, and human rights violations. Look at their faces. These people could be you and I. What if these people were your friends, your brother, your sister, a neighbor? In the spring 2022, with the war in Ukraine, millions of people fled across Europe and elsewhere. And I asked myself, what can I do? Is there anything that I can do? With my wife and 2 kids at my side, we had a simple idea. What about giving a couple of outgrown bikes to young refugees arriving to our city? One of them, incidentally, was yellow and blue, like the colors of the Ukrainian flag. I still remember the joy that filled these kids' eyes, who had just arrived, leaving everything behind. And for a moment, these kids were actually feeling a sense of normalcy. The joy we felt was so big that we decided to open our garage as a collection and distribution points for bikes for refugees. 300 bikes later, 5 garages open up, with people across the country eager to help. And soon we realized we were up to something big. It wasn't just about a bicycle getting a new life. It was about the magic that unfolded when people came to our garage. As often happens, many people were coming in a rush, ready to drop the bikes and run back as quickly as possible to their bubbles. We are so used to act very quickly even to emergencies. We are so quick to make anonymous donation. We are so quick at times to dump our belonging to a local charity, to a church, or even a recycling facilities, with the hope that someone will get relief from that. But something happened in our garage. Some people were coming again, ready to rush, and they were meeting people. They were meeting humans. They were meeting stories. They were meeting their faces. This direct encounter transformed ordinary individuals into extraordinary givers. People who rushed immediately to offer words of empathy, advice, even job opportunities. Many of these children that came, that met, and had a chance to meet a local resident, were able to be placed into local football clubs, for instance. Those connections were creating opportunities for social integration. So this gave me an idea. What if I could recreate this garage, these meeting opportunities on a massive scale? What if I could inspire people to get out of their bubbles and engage with those they're trying to help, creating lasting connections? But what about if I could create a tool to allow refugees to be less like ghosts in our communities and more like neighbors? So with the help of youth volunteers and also a couple of foundations, I was able to, and some people in this room, I was able to create a digital platform that allows everyone in the planet to have the same emotional experience I had the first time I met this kid. That is the same emotional experience those people that are coming to my garage had when having these encounters, and make a direct difference. I made the decision to drop everything else and work as a volunteer until this thing was up and running. A few months later, Riding the Rainbow was born. The name came from a message that I still remember that I received from a mom of a refugee who, while thanking me, told me, "Look, your bike was like the light of rainbow for my son." I just love it so much. Today, this initiative includes an app that is used by thousands in over a dozen countries, bringing a lot of joy, actually creating also circular economy, and most importantly, fostering a culture of solidarity. But what I discovered through this journey was just amazing. An act of giving and connection can really break barriers and open minds and building heroes. And I'll tell you a few. It's a story of Sarah, a young professional here in Luxembourg. She was rushing, as many, going to meet Olena, a mother of 3 children. As she went with the only bike that she had to give away, she met Olena and the 3 kids. They were all very happy and excited. But then she realized that she only had 1 bike, and Olena has 3 kids. So guess what she did? She just stepped out of the refugee camp where she had this meeting and went to buy 2 brand new bikes to make all the 3 kids happy. It's a story of a 16-year-old Sasha, who was a football player in his own country. He used to play for one of the best European teams, honestly, the best European teams. And he had to also leave everything behind because the city was bombed. And among the most precious things he left behind was a pair of cleats, which he was using to play football. When he came, actually incidentally, in my garage, we had a pair of cleats. And incidentally, it was the same size needed by Sasha. Those pair of cleats belonged to my oldest son, Eduardo. And, well, the next thing I thought, when actually we had a chance to meet, I said, would you like to join a football team? So the most immediate idea was to try to contact the coach and say, hey, can we have another player? What a joy it was for me and my son Eduardo to see this pair of cleats having a new life. For those 2 boys to play together in the same team. It's also a story of Mohammed Azim from Afghanistan. Mohammed Azim came after a long, perilous journey, as you can imagine. And when he saw on the app that we created a kite, he was so excited. And he wanted to offer the kite to his child, 5 years old. But he would not expect what happened later. So the donor of this kite ended up becoming his friend. His first meeting blossomed into a wonderful friendship. He invited him immediately to come and join a charity run when he was immersed into the local residents. What a fantastic opportunity for a refugee who had just arrived for finding himself a new home in a new community. Finally is a story of Raffaele. At the age of 14, one day he came back home. Sorry. And he told me, "Daddy, I bumped into some Syrian refugees. They were lost, they were carrying heavy luggages. And so I thought of helping him and taking him to the refugee camp." How many children at the age of 14 would be able to identify a refugee? Know where a refugee camp is, and having the emotional connection and empathy to be pushed to take that simple but important action. And of course I love him as my son. It sounds like I'm bragging about him, but I'm so profoundly convinced that his direct experience in direct giving opened his mind, allowed him to penetrate the grief of these people he was trying to serve. And also, eventually, he just found out where the refugee camp is, because he met someone with one of his belongings. All the stories have a common thread, something that joins them. An encounter with strangers, acts of kindness, but more importantly, a big desire to reconnect and restore normalcy. We humans are a species yearn for connections. We are naturally inclined to meet, to embrace, to be friends, to help. But we are pushed today by this negative narrative, which are pushing us to set apart from each other, to isolate, to see everyone as a risk, as something that can endanger us. Particularly when there are people that come from faraway countries, faraway culture, people wearing unusual clothes, whatever. There's always a good excuse for us to set ourselves apart. Let alone these people are asylum seekers or refugees. Now, no one really ever chooses to be a refugee, right? No one ever hopes to receive that status, that label on purpose. But many people do not have any choice. They have to escape. Millions of refugees are coming to our doors, and many more will come in the years ahead. They may appear different, speak incomprehensible languages, wear unusual clothes, as I said, but they will constitute the fabric of our society. So next time you meet one, I hope that you will look beyond the outer difference and you look in their eyes. It could be you. Try to think how to make them feel normal again, be it with a word or with an action. So allow me to invite you tonight to join us in our journey of human connection, empathy, and transformation. And I make a promise to you. You will feel a joy like no others when their faces will light up like a rainbow. Thank you.